Hello guys, TKG is here for your comfortable LostArk life. In this video, I'd like to cover one of its classes, Slayer. As the LostArk guy was asked about the variation build of Slayer, so I thought it'd be great to share some of the build and infos for your LostArk journey. And of course add some more categories and explanation for more clear build too. Now follow me, I'll share what you need. Before going into the main part, one thing you need to know is that this video is made on and based on KL server. So that means some of the preference and the build can be a little bit different with the global. In other words, some of the build can be a little bit, can be not familiar than the common build of the Predator Slayer on the global right now. And as I mentioned in the beginning, some of the composition, build, skill combo can be not familiar with the global server right now. As the KL server is quite ahead on update progressions than the global, it might be a little bit different too. So watch this video with those considerations and use this video as your reference to your LostArk journey. Let's start with the most basic of this video. Class engraving I'm going to cover in this video is Predator. As you guys might already and roughly know about the Predator class engraving, Predator class engraving will disable the identity skill called Bloodlust. And as you expect, Predator Slayer is another back attack type classes. So if you really do hate about catching the back all the time, this class is not for you. Normally and commonly, swiftness build based classes are great on passive, continuous damaging and not that great on momentary performance. But unlike those specialty, Predator Slayer is also capable on those factors too. One big disadvantage of the Predator Slayer is on maintaining the burst during the whole contents for better performance. And sometimes you might miss the burst, more like turning off with do nothing. Might be trickier to keep that burst, but of course that things will get better as your veterancy goes on. Well, let's talk about those details later on this video. As the Predator Slayer was quite released long ago, most of the stat engraving build are quite formalized to use. So actually there's not many things to comment for the Predator stat build too. As the Predator class engraving disable the specialization efficiency, disable the blood rust, swiftness is quite forced to use. And I gotta be honest, Predator Slayer build has quite variable to choose from, but what I want to say is that I can show all of the variation on this one video. So I will show you the most representative and commonly used engraving and stat build on this video. And of course, full swiftness is recommended to use. And gotta be honest, mixture with the other accessories is not recommended. Like one critical accessories on the earring or ring. As the backbone of the Predator Slayer is coming from the continuous damage and maintain the burst mode during the whole contents, so personally, try to stick to this critical and swiftness build for better performance for your Predator Slayer. Common build of the Predator Slayer is Curse, Ambush Master, Raid Captain, Grudge, Predator. And for the +1 engraving, Adrenals or Ether Predator is quite recommended to use. Also, if you don't like the penalty of the Curse, you can replace it with the Mass Increase engraving. But I think commonly, Curse is quite used well. Also for the 9/7 stone players, +2 Mass Increase can show you the ceiling performance. But if you can't afford that much requirements, try to use the Ether Predator or Adrenals. As I mentioned in the first, Predator Slayer in more KI expressions, she is quite capable on Tilmori, more like rushing the damage dealing with continuous damage dealing. And personally I think this is the most best advantage of the Predator Slayer too. Unlike the other swiftness based classes have to give up one part, mostly giving up the rushing part, but Predator has a both advantage. Also with the swiftness build, you could feel the most comfortable on your control too. And gotta be honest, if you don't get stressed by some keeping and maintaining the buff during the whole damaging cycle, you might see some satisfying DPS performance during the gameplay. Also, if you are confident on your controls, it might show more better performance than you expect. And as you expect, you need to know how to maintain and keep and manage your burst mode during the gameplay. More like you need some effort for your buff control. Otherwise, you are forced to give up the most of your DPS cycle. And as I said, you need some effort for controlling your buff, which means you need to know how to utilize your burst mode in right place on right time. And one annoying thing of the Predator mechanism is exhaust. Maybe the best reason for giving up the Predator Slayer, I think. Exhaust will disable your identity very long time. Well, let me show you about those details in the core mechanics section. Come to think of it, you really have to know the raid gimmick timing. Like you need to know the approximate timing about the gimmicks. Otherwise, you will miss the whole burst and enter the exhaust right away. Well, actually there's not many things to concern on her requirements. But I think, personally, Focus and the Gale Wind rune is quite recommended to use on a skill composition and a skill build. So if you don't have it, try to get one of those things on collectibles or the other contents. And as I keep mentioning, try not to make a mixture stat or accessories. Try to use the full swiftness for better performance. I'm serious. Core mechanic of the Predator Slayer is burst mode and keeping it. If you keep making an effective hit on the enemy, you will and keep your burst mode. The longer you keep maintaining the burst mode, you get the debuff called Fatigue. Fatigue can be theoretically stacked to 30, but normally, if you wish or you want to hear some, man, you're really good at this, then normally about 26 to 27 is deserved that good. The reason is simple. That fatigue buff level are directly related to exhaust uptime. And as I said, exhaust is a debuff that disable the burst mode. The exhaust uptime are decided like this. So more higher fatigue buff level, you'll get the shorter duration of the exhaust mode. So hit more for maintain the burst and the fatigue buff. Currently, Predator Slayer has two typed skill composition for KO expression, 6 deal, 7 deal. But I think the 7 deal build a little bit trickier on maintaining and keeping the burst mode, so personally 6 deal build recommend to use. So I'll show you the 6 deal build on the skill build section. Predator skill composition can be summarized like this. Actually there's not many things to comment on the skill composition. All you have to know is you have 6 damage dealing skill and 1 synergy and 1 movement skill, which really helpful for maintaining the burst mode. Skill build can be summarized like this text box. I'll show you the skill and tripod in this text box, and I'll explain the gem tripod priority on the priority section. Gem and tripod priority can be summarized like this. No matter what, high level of gems on Guillotine and the brutal impact will hugely helps for your skill and damaging cycle. Actually, Annihilation Gem priority was sorted by damage factors, so actually there's not many things to comment on the gem priority. And to align the skill circulation, brutal impact, Guillotine, final blow quite require high level of cooldown gem. So try to set aside the other cooldown gem and try to set the cooldown gem of the 3 skills. Tripod priority also can be summarized like this. Awakening skill is a Ragnar break. Actually, awakening skill of the Slayer is quite formalized to Ragnar break. I've never saw the players who are using the execute as a main awakening skill. I think it is almost not worth for debate. So try to use the Ragnar break. As I mentioned in the first, unlike the other swiftness-based characters aren't that capable on rushing and pouring the huge damage skills, Predator Slayer is really capable and perform very good on their part, which looks quite satisfying. Also, as a build is based on swiftness, you might experience the cool and very light controls during the gameplay. And I think personally, Predator Slayer has a quite satisfying performance on aligning our skill cooldown. So mostly, you can utilize the DPS skills whatever you want. Wild Stomp is a synergy, counter, and the buff keeping skill too. Third tripod, Earth Impact is also an effective and stationary hitting skill. And as it is a half stationary skill, it is quite useful on, more like having some trouble because of the distance from the enemy or the situation you need to force to pull out and keep your distance because of the gimmicks. From there, Wild Stomp can perform a great role on keeping your burst mode. Wild Rush is a movement skill, but also can be a great part of maintaining the burst mode. The first tripod of the Wild Rush has an emitting burning aura effects, which can give you a passive effective hit on the enemy. In other words, you can even maintain the burst mode with the Wild Rush too. skill combo of the Predator Slayer is like this. Actually, the combo of the Predator is really a reference, as you can just know to looking at it. Put the Synergy, Final Blow, and Furious Claw for conviction and judgment, Guillotine for faster consecutive skill performance, and then continue with the other skills you have. As I keep mentioned, skill combo of the Predator Slayer is really a reference, and most of all, it is not fixed. More like you need to group up some core circulation like Synergy, Burst, and Guillotine, and then use the other skills with more flexibility on your own. So try to keep in mind about those core skill group and then use the other skills and circulate with more flexibility. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching everyone, and always, thanks for your big support. Hope this video was a little helped for your LostArk journey. Hope you do well with your Slayer with this video. And of course, if you like my videos, hit the sub for more upcoming infos. I'll come back with more useful infos in the next video.